just didn't really think it through. I was literally laying in bed with my laptop, and I went click, 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 apply. Within seconds, the loan was transferred to me, and I immediately transferred it in and bought the Bitcoin, which was I got like 2.55. Fully confident that Bitcoin will probably the length. So the interesting thing, the length of the term is 6 years. So the total interest payable meant the break-even point is $22,000. If I pay the loan off tomorrow, the total interest is like $100. So I'm essentially like $11,000-$12,000 up now already. So what's likely going to happen is next year, month by month, as the business makes money, I'm just going to pay off the loan. But yeah, like I didn't really think it through. I'm not a trader. I was just like $22,000 break-even point, 6-year payback. Well, I think in 6 years Bitcoin will be $200,000-$300,000. So why the fuck wouldn't I do that?
Pete, tables have turned, man. Roles are reversed. You're on the other side of the mic. I don't know how many years ago it was that you started the biggest Bitcoin podcast in the world, and I was lucky enough to be your first guest. And now you're on the other side of the mic. What's going on, man?
Yeah, man. About time. Well, it's only because I did a degen thing and you want to talk about it. But no, good to see you, man. What was it? 3 years and 2 months ago in LA, we recorded that first show. It feels like a decade. So much has happened. We've got to hang out a bunch of times. This is probably the longest I haven't seen you, right?
It has to be. Well, your restrictions, I feel like, no country wants Americans in it right now, but your restrictions over there are way more intense, it feels like, than anywhere in the world. I just saw on Twitter that you guys can't have Christmas. What the hell is going on over there?
Yeah, they've just put us into... So we had these tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and now they've just put people into this new tier 4, which is basically the biggest lockdown, and London's in it, and Bedfordshire, where I am, has been put into it. So I don't know when I'll be traveling again, but it's definitely... Last time I saw you was in, Indy? Was it in Indy?
That would have been, you came in to visit Indy. What were you doing? You were on a tour. We recorded again, and then you were going to Texas?
I can't even remember, man. They all like blur into one, but I was doing a bunch of things. I can't remember even why. I was in Indy. No, I was in Indy CU because I hit Indy. Yeah, I hit Indy the exact 2 years after we recorded that first show. Like pure coincidence. I was in Ohio, and then I realized like 2 days away was the anniversary of making that show. I was like, come on, I'll come to Indy. We made that show, which was pretty cool to do, dude. I liked Indy.
It's not bad. I like Indy too. I moved to California. I moved so much, it's ridiculous. I moved to California probably 3 or 4 times in the past 2 years. I just left SF because restrictions got so crazy. And that was like the beginning of this year. And then I moved back. But yeah, man, Indy's not bad. It's undervalued. It's a contrarian play right now, I think.
Yeah, no, I like it. Well, look, I like coming out to the States. I used to come like 8. I think like last year I was like 8, maybe 9 times, 10 times even. And last time I was there was February. It's been a long time, and I guess I don't even know when I'll be able to travel again. Maybe, I don't know, a few months, 4, 5, 6 months when these vaccines get rolled out. But I miss it, dude. I miss you, dude.
I miss you too, brother. Are you still have plans to become a citizen here?
At some point, yeah, I guess at some point, but maybe not. Like, you're looking at all this stuff about like this regulatory arbitrage where people are moving to other places. It may be a case that it's actually better to go and live somewhere like the Cayman Islands with Raoul Pal and avoid some tax, or head to Malta. But I'd like to. I really like Austin. I've spent so much time there. I like Texas. I like the people there. But we'll see, man. A lot of other stuff to get sorted out first.
Yeah, I'm sure. One of the reasons I moved to SF was to get... My thought process was, if I'm doing this podcast full time, more interviews, offices there, people are always flying through. And then I realized, well, fuck, if everyone's just going to keep sitting at home, no one can travel, why would I be in SF? And you're probably going through that same thing, so...
Yeah, so you did that. What was it? A 25-hour drive? Is that what it takes?
Dude, I wish it was 25 hours. It's probably, man, I don't know. I should remember it with how many times I've done it. I think it's 35 hours. It's 18 hours the first leg. Then you try to sleep in a car in a hotel, and then it's like 18. I don't know. It's long. No one should ever do it. I've done it way too many times, man. But.
Yeah, well, SF seems to be... I mean, the first time I went to San Francisco was around my 30th birthday, so 12 years ago, and it was pretty cool. And I've been going back and forth over the years. And the last couple of years, it's just seems to have gone to absolute shit. There's some great places, great parts, but when you're in, like, I was staying in the center of San Francisco in a great hotel, and I didn't know, I'd heard of the Tenderloin, but I didn't know about it. And I got up one morning and went for a jog, which like sometimes I like to do to get my fat ass out there. And I ended up stumbling across the Tenderloin, and it just kind of like blew my mind. Similar with LA, you know, I spent a lot of time in LA, mainly in Venice. And my buddy, he's a member at like the Gold's Gym in LA, so we'd always go there do a workout. And just around the area, just the insane levels of homelessness and what's been going on, it's like really sad to see. But these cities are really struggling, man, and I can see why people are like, yeah, screw this, I've had enough of this.
Yep. Well, I certainly had too. Man, the Tenderloin's nice. You know, it's like a national treasure. You kind of enjoy. I don't know. When I was there, you jog through it on the way to the gym. It's like a reminder of where we are. But anyway, so you're at home. You're smoking brisket.
Yes.
I saw your picture. It looks pretty good. Thank you for taking a break from eating that and joining the show. Bitcoin price at all-time highs. It's a good time to be a Bitcoin podcaster. And the tweet that it pissed everyone off this week, and I don't know why anyone could be mad because Bitcoin's at all-time highs, everyone's happy. You said you were taking a $50,000 loan to buy some more Bitcoin. You already have some Bitcoin to buy more Bitcoin. Walk me through this decision, because when people saw it, I mean, it got 6,000 likes. People are losing their fucking minds. They're saying, this is insane. You're going to lose your money. Why would you do this? It's clearly worked out. That's beside the point. Walk me through the thought process. Why take a $50,000 loan to buy Bitcoin?
Yeah, so it's funny. It was actually, you know what? It wasn't all bad. There's a lot of people like really respected it. A lot of people like, you're an idiot. Why are you doing that? Or they were saying like, oh, this is really bad advice. You know, other people might do this and go broke. And then other people are like, I can't believe you had to take out a loan to buy Bitcoin. I thought you were, you know, your business is successful. You must be broke as fuck. So what happened is over the year, what I've done is I've been stacking sats back since around probably for about a year now. So as you know, 2017, thought I was a trader because I was trading, making money, a lot of money. Realized I wasn't a trader, lost most of it. And then kind of hit a low point where I was like, okay, I'm not going to trade anymore. I put everything into Bitcoin and just made a decision. All I'm going to do is stack sats. All I want to do is make sure in like 4 years time or whatever time period, I've got more Bitcoin now than I have at that point. And try and make it every month I've got more Bitcoin. And I wish I'd known that back in 2017. But because I used to track the dollar value, right? I've got the Bitcoin, but what's the dollar value? Which was a total mistake. So I just did it a number of different ways. The main one was I got sponsors sometimes who pay me in Bitcoin, and what I would do is I would convert 75% to cash to run the business and 25% to Bitcoin. And then what happened was I'm trying to remember, maybe 5 months ago, I was thinking also about getting some gold. I think I need some gold just as a hedge. You know, I need the hedge against inflation, but I also need the hedge in case Bitcoin has a problem. So I looked into buying gold, got some great advice. And then a couple of things stood out to me. I was like, hold on. So I wanted the physical gold, no ETF bullshit. I wanted the physical gold. So I take delivery of it and then I'll hide that shit somewhere. But somebody like said to me, said, okay, that's cool. What about if you want to sell it? I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, can I just not sell it to the people I bought it from? They're like, yeah, probably. And I was like, well, the thing is, if I want to sell Bitcoin, I just plug in my ledger. Like, plug in my wallet, open up the exchange, send it, and I sell it. Like, you the only time delay is the time to get confirmed. So, like, within an hour, you can be selling it. And I was thinking, with gold, like, how can I do it that quick? It just felt like a lot more work. So I was like, screw this. I'm just going to buy some more Bitcoin. And so then what I decided to do was I just looked in my business account. I run my, like, I don't take much out of the business. I'm, like, always reinvesting back. So I've never got, like, a lot of personal cash. But the business had a decent amount of cash in it. And I was like, I don't think I've got to worry about this cash long term. So what I'm going to do, I switched my strategy and it's like, I know what my cash flow is. So I was like, I'm only going to keep a $30,000 float in the business account, and all money I make outside of that's going to go into Bitcoin every month. So everything that was over $30,000 in the account, I transferred to Bitcoin, and I would do that every single month. And then what happened was, like a week ago, I'd seen the news about MicroStrategy taking a massive amount, like massive loan, whatever it was, like $650 million leveraging their cash flow and buy more Bitcoin. I was like, well, okay, firstly, I want to front run this. And secondly, can I do this? Like my business is just tiny, so I can't. I mean, I probably could borrow against my cash flow, but I was like, I could probably do it in a different way. And then I woke up. I can't remember what day it was, and I saw a tweet from Zach Vol, something like, bought the dip, and I was like, oh, what's happened? I looked up, and Bitcoin had crashed from just below 20,000 to 17.5. I was like, okay, that's like a near 20% drop. I'm gonna buy that dip, and I was like, well, I've got, I don't want to go into my business float, and I don't, I never hold in much personal. So I was like, I'm just going to borrow. So all I did is I went online, went straight to my bank that I've got 20-year relationship with. And I was like, click. What's the most I can borrow? 35,000. Right. That's pounds, by the way, which is near, say, 50,000, whatever it was, $46,000. What's the rate they'll give me? 7.9%. What's the total I got to pay back? That's what I was looking at. What's the total I got to pay back? And I was like, okay, what's my break-even point? So my break-even point is $22,000. And I said, well, I just thought to myself, well, look, if I didn't think Bitcoin would hit $22,000, like, why am I holding any Bitcoin? Like, that's kind of risky because it's not a big move from now. So I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. Yeah, and other people are like, oh, you could borrow from here. You get I just didn't really think it through. I was literally laying in bed with my laptop, and I went click, apply. Within seconds, the loan was transferred to me, and I immediately transferred it in and bought the Bitcoin, which was I got like 2.55. Fully confident that Bitcoin will probably the length. So the interesting thing, the length of the term is 6 years. So the total interest payable meant the break-even point is $22,000. If I pay the loan off tomorrow, the total interest is like $100. So I'm essentially like $11,000-$12,000 up now already. So what's likely going to happen is next year, month by month, as the business makes money, I'm just going to pay off the loan. But yeah, like I didn't really think it through. I'm not a trader. I was just like $22,000 break-even point, 6-year payback. Well, I think in 6 years Bitcoin will be $200,000-$300,000. So why the fuck wouldn't I do that?
I was going to wonder, like, why not just deposit that Bitcoin into BitMEX or to Bybit, put one Bitcoin down, open up a leveraged long for 2 or 3 Bitcoin, buy some futures so you don't have to pay the fees. Did you just not want to have to worry about liquidation? You didn't want to have to worry about a trading interface? Was this like a smarter way to buy Bitcoin with leverage? Like, because in some ways, this is a leveraged trade. Like that, at its core, you're taking debt or money you don't have, even if you do have that much money, and taking someone's money and buying more Bitcoin than you could.
I guess the first thing I'll say is I don't even know what you just said then. Like I know I can go on BitMEX and take out like a 10x leverage, right? And then you're like, I can take out futures. I've got no idea how to buy futures or how they work. Ever since I got out of trading nearly 18 months ago, I haven't traded. I've never opened a BitMEX account. I just don't want to trade. It's just like I got PTSD from 2017, right? I don't want to do that. So what I was like is like, well, what do I understand? I understand that my repayments are $800 a month. Like my business making ranges from like, I've got it up here. Let me have a look. It's like ranges from like $10,000 to $30,000 a month, right? So I can easily, I can easily, like that's how I leverage it. I can easily pay the $800 repayments, and I'm pretty confident that the price will be above 22,000 within 6 years. Like I'm pretty confident. I was pretty confident it would be by the end of the year. To be honest, I didn't think it would happen like this, like we've had right now. But I was pretty confident, and I was like, as soon as I hit 22,000, I'm in the green with 6 years of runway, right? So at any point I pay it off, like I say, the interest goes to almost nothing because the interest accrues monthly. So like I say, if I pay it off now, it's like $100. But I don't want to get into that. I don't want to become a trader. I don't want to, like what you've said to me probably makes more sense. But that will make me consistently think, right, I'm a trader. Okay, maybe there's another opportunity here. And what if I get that trade wrong? Like, I'd have to, if it's leverage, right, I have to have stops. Or I get like a margin call or whatever happens in those crazy trading rooms. I didn't want that shit. I didn't want to have to worry about it. All I had to worry about is, can I make the $800 payments a month? And that was easy. So it was just, everything just made sense. It was a really easy trade for me to make and not worry about anything.
So Pete, I'm scrolling down because not only did you make this trade or this play, but you tweeted it out. And we all know what happens after you tweet something like this. It could be a trade. I mean, I've dealt with this for 2 or 3 years. It could be the trade I have the highest conviction in, that I have my risk managed, all these things, and I'll still get, 20 comments on how horrible of a play it is. But you tweet this out, it gets 7,000 likes, 300 retweets, another 300 people quote it, probably calling you out. This is, I mean, you can already do a victory lap on the 500 people that commented and said, "What the hell are you doing?" I mean, it's got to feel pretty good.
Dude, I'm already doing victory laps because fuck them. But no, I didn't actually tweet about it for maybe 24, at least 48 hours. Maybe it was 48 hours because I spoke to my producer, Danny. I was like, Danny, I've kind of done something that might be stupid but might be really smart. And I told him about it. It's like, no, fuck it, that's cool. I was like, I think I should tweet about it, but I'm not sure. So I didn't. And then I ended up recording a show with, George Gammon. And we were talking about Bitcoin, and I ended up like revealing it there. And once I revealed it, I was like, I might as well just tweet about it. And I thought, all right, this might trigger some people. I thought this might be one of those ones that gets like 500 likes. I didn't realize what it would do, and I was just like, shit. So like, yeah, a bunch of people lost their shit, and it's what it is.
It's gonna happen. It is what it is. So I'm curious, what made you do this now, right? You have price. You said, price was at 19K, 20K. This is going into December. Price had dipped about 10, 15%, like 17, 18K. I kind of forget what caused that. But yeah, the Michael Saylor news was out. They were going to buy another $650 million worth of Bitcoin. All of a sudden, this narrative of Wall Streeters joining Bitcoin, legendary investors, billionaires joining Bitcoin, that was like being played every single day at CNBC, Bloomberg. Like everyone knew what was happening. Obviously, we're going to break 20K at some point. What kind of like really drew you? Was it a conversation? Because you're in a really interesting spot. You speak with more developers, investors, analysts that are only focused on Bitcoin than maybe anyone in the world. And that's a really unique and cool position you're in. Was it like a single conversation or the narrative escalating or price? It clearly wasn't price action. Like what made you want to do it while price is right there, right under 20K?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I guess what it was is my conviction was growing through the year. Like I had quite a bit of conviction around like the $10,000 mark because it kept holding it. I was like, okay, this is holding. Okay, so that's why I went and put like a bunch of the business cash into it. And my conviction just kept going up. I kept buying from 10 all the way up. And I guess what it is like you said, I mean, you answered it yourself. The billionaires are coming in, the hedge funds are coming in. You've seen what's happening with PayPal. You've seen what's happening with Grayscale. You see what's happening with Cash App. Like, just common sense is telling you that there is more demand than there is for the 900 Bitcoin that's being minted today. So if there's more demand than the 900 Bitcoin that's being minted every day, then people who are trading and selling on exchanges that number's going to get depleted. So that gave me a lot of conviction. But also I'm party to certain bits of, I don't want to call it inside information because that sounds like it's like nefarious, but I'm, like you say, I speak to a lot of people. I also know the interviews I've got coming up, right? So like I've got at least 3 coming up that I know that are really important I can't even talk about. But I'm like, well, if I'm interviewing them and they're doing X, well, that's speaks volumes for Bitcoin. But I just got more and more conviction. I've been through this is my first cycle, right? A bit like you. You and I pretty much started the same time-ish, right? We joined in a bull market. We've been through a bear market. Now we're in another bull market. If this was our second one, like this, we've done 2 cycles. We were like, this is easy. I would have bought it 3.5K, 4K and gone, I know what's going on here. I don't. We will know next time, right? When it crashes from 300 to like 70, like we will know the bottom next time. But no, my conviction just kept going up and up and up. And I guess the other thing is, right, like, you've got your already stack, and your already stack has grown in value, so you're already like, well, I can play around a bit here. And then the other thing is just a bit of a moonshot, right? I make enough money every month to have the life I want to lead, Luke. Like I can pay my mortgage, go on holiday with the kids, and it's not extravagant life, but I have what I need. But it's like, well, if they're right, if Bitcoin does go to like 200K, well, this is my moonshot. So let's have a moonshot because it's a bit of fun. So a range of reasons. There's no sensible strategy really behind it. It's just like the price dropped. I had conviction. I thought, fuck it. If they're right, then this $50,000, $46,000 loan could be worth, 2.5 Bitcoin, that could be worth $500,000. So why not?
Some people hear moonshot, and immediately in my mind thinks to some of the alt plays that people line up on Twitter and just the traders I talk to, and even on my own portfolio, I have a couple that I think, if this gets really crazy, that can be worth a lot of money. You don't play any alts though. Like your Bitcoin loan is purely Bitcoin, and you've been like that for a while. Not only with your show, you made the decision to go only Bitcoin, only cover Bitcoin. Your Twitter only covers Bitcoin. You only invest in Bitcoin. Do you have any moonshot alts? Is that anything that you even consider from an investment point? I'm not talking about whether an altcoin can dethrone Bitcoin, because one of the things that I've had that mindset for a while. Nothing's going to take out Bitcoin. Bitcoin should kind of be in a bucket by its own. But I do think there's going to be assets that could do well in their own right? Like the same way that Bitcoin's uncorrelated to stocks and to basically every asset ever created. There's different drivers driving this new money. There are kind of these VC bets or venture bets you can make on other types of assets and assets that represent something other than equity, something other than debt. Does that interest you at all? Like, you're not playing any alts. I know when you came to my apartment for that first ever podcast, you were playing alts. That doesn't interest you at all now, though.
Yeah, I was playing Ripple and everything. Yeah, do you know what? It's a couple of reasons. It's a fair question. If I was a trader like you, I would probably play alts. I don't have the time to look at charts all day, every day, and study this stuff and say what's going to work and what's not going to work and dive in and dive out. That's why I don't even trade Bitcoin. Like, I buy it and I hold it. And my intention is to hold for years. I don't have the time to look at this stuff. And most of them, how many of them have actually really had 2 proper cycles? Yeah, Bitcoin's had, 4 cycles now? And each time the new cycle creates a new all-time high. Ethereum is having this essentially kind of second cycle now, but it hasn't hit an all-time, what's it, like $650? And its previous all-time high was $1,500. So it's not even... Yeah, it's not 50% of that yet. Now, Bitcoin might drag it up. If Bitcoin goes to $50,000, it might drag Ethereum up. And I think if you time it right, you can have like certain plays. Like, you've talked to me about plays. You can have certain plays like in short term. If you leverage them, you do really well. But like, if you're just going to stack and hold for the long term, well, Bitcoin's come from its floor to an all-time high. In that same period, Ethereum's gone from its floor to like 45%, 40%. So everything you hold instead of Bitcoin over a long-term period is most likely going to make you less money. So therefore, I just don't play it. If I was a trader, I would. I don't play it. I don't have the time. My moonshot's Bitcoin.
I want to ask you this, and touching on what I said earlier. You speak with devs. You speak with the biggest investors. You have the Winklevoss twins on. You have Michael Saylor on. You're so kind of it's such an advantage in some ways, but I mean, you've built it as well, like you've earned it. But you have this insight. You have this opportunity to speak with all these people. What is it? Because I get this question so much. Text from random friends, text from family, whatever it might be. Old girlfriends. I'm sure some people have gotten those. They're thinking about getting into crypto. They see Bitcoin at all-time highs, and they say, I got one yesterday on Instagram. Someone I've never met, and they said, I'm looking at this coin VET. I think it could do very well. I don't even fucking know what VET is, and I look at altcoins. And they said, I think it can do very well. Should I buy it? Obviously, I don't respond to those. I generally think that most people shouldn't try to trade the same way that most people shouldn't play poker. It's a tough game, and it's a zero-sum game. So people are going to lose. Some people are going to win. But what's the best explanation that you have, because you've been able to speak with so many Bitcoiners and you've done years worth of work, speak for hours on it each week, learn from the sharpest minds in the space. Why is it just the Bitcoin investment for you? There's so many new people coming in having the same question. Should I be Bitcoin only? Should I try to play these alts? If you could break it down in kind of one response, why is it just a Bitcoin investment for you?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it comes up a lot. It's a bit of a curse when you say to people you're a Bitcoin podcaster, because that's all they want to talk to you about. My chiropractor. So my chiropractor, I put my back out recently, and I was in there, and he was like asking me, so what do you do? I said, I got a podcast, and it's like, what is it about? And he said, Bitcoin. Like every time I go in for a session now, we talk. And he did it. He did the classic question. What do you think he asked me last time? And it wasn't about Bitcoin. What do you think he asked me about?
I could make a bet right now that he asked you about Ripple.
I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write it down.
Okay, yeah, don't show me the answer. Write it down. And I'm going to explain why. I play in a weekly hockey game on Sundays. It's a beer league, right? We're all past our prime. No one made it to the pros. A couple of our friends did, but obviously they don't play in our beer league. We had a good team. We beat everyone in Indiana for almost 3 years straight. Didn't lose to a single high school. So everyone pretty good at hockey, all really good friends. And I still have guys come up to me in the locker room on Sundays and they say, Luke, they know I'm a Bitcoin guy or a crypto guy. They say, Luke, I think I'm going to finally make the play. I'm going to get into crypto. I'm going to get into Bitcoin. And man, Ripple's at 30 cents. It could go to $3 or $10. Should I fucking buy Ripple? And every single time we're having a beer after the game and I say, how the hell did you learn about Ripple? How is it that everyone learns about Ripple first? Man.
Dude, so I'm laying there and he's cracking my back and he's like, he was almost embarrassed. He was like, so what do you think about XRP? I was like, dude, it's dog shit. And he was like, what? I was like, just look at the charts, man. I'm not going to sit there and tell you. I can't sit there and tell him about whether it's decentralized or not, how much it's used. I'm like, dude, it's dog shit. Just look at the charts. Tell me which one you want to own. I was like, forget about it. But when people are like, even my brother messaged me the other week, said, shall I buy some Bitcoin? I was like, yeah, definitely. And he didn't. So I messaged him today. It's really funny. What was it? I was like, so I just texted him saying, Bitcoin just hit $24,000. He said, feck, I should have invested that money, bollocks. And I put, I'll remind you of today when it hits 100,000 if you still haven't bought. So my point to people is that I keep it really simple. I don't sit there and say to everyone, like, it's this decentralized form of money which allows you to have censorship resistance and seizure resistance, and you can send money to people privately if you coin. I don't bother with all that because it's too much. Or I just keep it really simple. I just say it's a form of money that people are starting to use more and more. But the real difference is between that and the money we use currently is that there's this limit of 21 million, whereas with traditional money the government can print it as and when needed. Therefore, if there's only 21 million, just go and look at the basics of supply and demand. If more people are starting to use it, then because of the limit, it's going to be worth more. And that's all I tell them. That's the absolute basic. And then I obviously say, go and listen to my podcast, and if you've got any questions, get back to me. But I just say that, and that's all I say, because you can try and sell them. Like, if they really want to go deep, I'm like, go and check out Vijay Boyapati's The Bullish Case for Bitcoin and check that out. But actually, it's too much. And the next thing I say is, go and just buy a bit, buy $50 and move it, and then just see how you feel. Just see how you feel. Just see what happened with that bit of money. The best thing is to keep it simple. But even saying that, Luke, like I've been doing this for now 3.5 years. I've got a Facebook account. I've been talking about Bitcoin for 3.5 years on Facebook. If I post about Bitcoin, I get like 2 likes. It just people don't care. They're going to find it at the time that is right for them. Or they're going to find it when the number goes up, and when they ask me, I just keep it really simple.
Yeah. I think most people also, the funny thing that I've realized, and I'm sure Bitcoiners won't even like hearing this, or people that want number to go up won't hear this, and number will still go up. Bitcoin will still go up. What I've realized is, like, if you try to explain it in the sense of digital gold, and that, gold's worth 10 trillion and all these things, most of my friends, even my friends in finance that work at banks, that are in investment management, in investment banking, like most of them still don't really think about gold or other things.
They don't own gold.
Yeah, what happened? That's true, and that's why so much money will flow to Bitcoin. But what happens is most of these people won't buy Bitcoin until they're much older, and it's funny, they won't even buy Bitcoin. It will be their investment advisor who buys an index and then also sledges them a 1 or 2 or 5% allocation to gold. Right, the same way they do with real estate, the same way they do with small caps, the same way they do with everything. They'll own it, and they'll never have to learn it, and they'll never have to understand it,
Nope.
and they'll just buy it when it's there. And some of these people will own Bitcoin, they'll never even learn or know or be hyped about it, and it just doesn't matter because they'll buy it later. So I appreciate you keeping it simple. I think that makes sense. I am curious, though, when you came 3 years ago to my apartment in LA, we recorded the interview. It was my first time ever being on a podcast as well. I used to just say no.
How was it?
It was a unanimous no. I was trading a ton. You know how fucking crazy things were in end of 2017, early 2018. And it was always a unanimous no. I didn't have anything crazy to tell. I didn't want to sell anything. I stumbled upon this. We were fooled by bullishness. Everything made money. But when you came in, you said, you were telling me about, we just cracked open a Heineken, and you were telling me about this ICO you invested in. And it was, they stole all your money. What happened with that? What ICO is that? And I think that'll also illustrate the differences of Bitcoin versus some of the other investments that are offered to retail?
I can't remember the name of it, but it had, as I do remember, it had con in its name, C-O-N. Condoza or Condui or Contra.
I can't remember.
What happened with it though?
So they fucked off with the money, didn't they? Like everyone put their money in and they fucked off with the money. But it was funny because I put it up on Twitter and someone was like, dude, it literally says con in the title. I put a lot of money. But dude, back in those days, like there was a bunch of ones where like an ICO would come out. You're like, I'll stick 2 Bitcoin in. Like think about that now.
Basically $50,000.
I don't want to think about that now.
I actually didn't do very well out of ICOs. I did well out of trading tokens, but my actual ICO investments, I think I lost mainly on them because I started putting it in when it was a bit late, at the end of the bull run, right? So I kind of missed out on that opportunity. And yeah, I mean, to think of the amount of Bitcoin I lost, I'll tell you something interesting. This is an interesting point. So it's public how much I made and then lost, right? I put it out there. This run up to 24K, if you include money in the bank and stuff to do with the podcast, I've basically got back financially to where I was. I've kind of got back to like kind of that point, like that proper bit where I've got a nice bit of runway, etc. And I've done it without trading alts, without doing any ICOs. All I've done is I've realized bear markets are actually a good thing, right? You think bear market's awful, right? It's actually not. It's brilliant. It's brilliant because you can just stack sats. You can just build up the size of your portfolio. So if we have another cycle, I don't know if we ever will, by the way. I think the market dynamics might change, but if we do have another like run and bear market, I think I will celebrate the bear market as an opportunity to stack because I'll understand it more. I just don't know if we will. I think things are quite a bit different now.
Yeah, I think.
By the way, can I ask you a question?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, what's your price target for next year? Give me 2. What's your price target and what's your most bullish? It might do this.
Pete, you know what's funny? On my note sheet I have over here, as I was going to get to it, as you've now gotten back to a portfolio all-time high, sticking just with Bitcoin, I was going to say, you just had Willy Woo on the show. You're speaking with all these people every single week. You had this conviction to take the loan. What's your target? But I'll give you mine because I was actually just breaking down a video of it. I kind of look at it like pretty similar to the Winklevoss twins in the sense that they called for 500K Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. And they break it down by, the same way that the CIO of Guggenheim did. And they look at if this is digital gold and more people are buying in, Wall Street are buying in, and more importantly, individuals are buying in, and it's going to continue to steal that market share, especially as my generation grows up and we're not buying any gold. We're buying a lot more of this. This makes a lot more sense to us. And that price target, if you look at the relative valuation of gold, and if this starts to become more in line with gold, this would be worth 400, 500K in the next 5 to 10 years. I actually think it's much higher. And only for the reason that would sound insane to anyone if we weren't at 20K right now. And once again, I'm talking in 5 to 10 year timeframes. But something that Spencer Bogart said, and it stuck with me ever since. A lot of people compare Bitcoin to gold, and they say, Bitcoin could be at that 8, 9, 10 trillion dollar mark that gold is. But if you look at store of value assets, and the real reason that people buy Bitcoin, and I think they're going to continue to buy Bitcoin, and why Bitcoin will play a big role for the next 100 years, is fiat currencies. I'm probably one of the few Bitcoiners or people that like Bitcoin that think that central banks and fiat money have actually been very beneficial to society. They played a pivotal role from like the 1900s where we weren't able to allocate money. I could have a lot of money, you could have a lot of money, everyone in our community could have a lot of money, but unless we pooled that money together and a bank was able to now lend it out so the next guy could take a risk on his business, we wouldn't have got to where we are today. So I think central banks have been great. Regardless, they now create a scenario where things like Bitcoin and scarce assets can do very well because the fiat system has to keep printing money to keep itself alive. So if you look at store of value assets, based on that thesis, fiat currencies are going to continue to do well for a very long time. Store of value assets are not just gold. It's also real estate as a store of value. It's also collectibles, fine art, cars. That's not like 6 to 8 trillion like gold. That's like 20 to 25 trillion. especially in countries where it's really hard to own real estate. You start looking at some places in Asia. So using the exact same framework that the Winklevoss twins did, that Guggenheim and them did, very in my head math right now. I haven't charted this out. But if they're comparing 400, 500K Bitcoin to gold, and Bitcoin reaching gold's market cap, and that would be the price of a coin, I actually think it's probably 4 to 5 times higher if it continues to eat into that market share. People are still going to buy collectibles. People are still going to buy rare Ferraris. They're still going to own some gold. But I think Bitcoin being in that sweet spot of 12 to 18 trillion, I think it will continue to eat in that the next 50 to 80 years before I die. Comparatively to their price target of 400, 500K, as fucking insane those price targets are, I think it could very well trade, or you could easily make a case for 4 to 5 times higher. So I've seen 1 million thrown around. I've laughed at it as a trader because I don't focus on price targets. They make great headlines on TV. They make great headlines on Cointelegraph. It doesn't make anyone money. But I think it is important to kind of have a framework for how big can this thing go, especially if you're in your 20s and this is something you're going to own for 50 years. I think it could well be $1.5 to $2 million in my lifetime.
Yeah, I think it can easily be that. So a couple of things that have really kind of changed, again, my conviction this year, and especially this last few months, is something like Mass Mutual is very interesting. So I was chatting to a guy, a big hedge fund in New York, and he's saying that the interesting thing about Mass Mutual is they're not buying that to sell it. They're just not going to sell it. They're just not going to sell it. If they need money, they've got other assets they can sell. They're not going to sell their best performing asset. If anything, they might leverage it if they need money, but they're not going to sell it. And I started to think about, actually, that's the thing about Bitcoin. It's the last thing you're always going to sell. If I need money now, I can think of plenty of things I will sell before I sell my Bitcoin. My car, my trainer collection, whatever. So that gave me a bunch of conviction. But also, what's given me another bunch of conviction around it is that we're going through this acceptance phase now. I would say the last bull market was it was the chance for Bitcoin to kind of come to the public eye. We've got to that point where it's people talk about mass adoption, and I've said it at a few conferences recently. I said, we don't need to care about mass adoption right now, but what we do have is mass awareness. If I get in a cab or an Uber or I get my haircut, whatever, and someone says what you do, and I say I've got a Bitcoin podcast, nobody ever says to me now, well, what's Bitcoin? Nobody says it anymore. Usually they're oh, I don't understand it. That's it. That's the first question. That's the first thing they say. I don't understand it. So we have mass awareness now. But what we have got is we've got, when companies are putting in 100 million, 500 million, Ruffers the other day, 750 million? MicroStrategy's done $1 billion. Mass Mutual's done 100 million. That other billionaire's done and they're just the first few. But they all talk to each other, right? And what they're going to do, they're going to make their buy, and then they're going to do the sailor thing, tell everyone, because they want everyone else to buy it, right? And and it's a race now. It's a race. What we're seeing right now is a race to get in. And we have acceptance. Bitcoin isn't going to get banned. It might get highly regulated, but the 21 million doesn't change, and it's not going to get banned, okay? So if it's not going to get banned, and everyone sees it as the best asset there is, it kind of memes itself into the existence in them higher price targets. So I've got a 6-figure price target, no problem next year. $100,000, no problem. Can it do 2, 3, 4, 5? I don't know. And I've got a 10-year price target because I always said I'm not going to sell for 10 years, and I'm 1 year into that. I said 3 halvings of over $1 million. And again, when people used to say, I'm like you, it's yeah, come on. Yeah. I know we hit 20,000. We might get back there. We might get 30, 40. Now I'm I see exactly how it gets there when everyone realizes. Once you get there and you hold it, you realize it's a strong asset because it holds value. And it holds value really, really well over long time frames. So yeah, I've got no problem with those price targets at all. My problem is a bit like you, is well, if it hits $100,000, you're shit, I can sell a Bitcoin, have $100,000. I can do a lot with that. I can buy a new house. And you don't want to be that guy, a year later, shit, if I'd held, it'd be $1 million.
Yeah, and that's why I caution when I say, 1 to 2 million. I mean, that's over a 50 year. I have no idea. And we could well hit 10, 12K again. Who knows if the U.S. or whatever it is comes out with stronger it cracks me up when people say it's going to be regulated away. It already is fucking regulated. You log into Coinbase or Gemini, they already KYC you. People look at these Minutia regulations and they say, oh, now you have to KYC your wallet. If you are already on Coinbase or Gemini or Kraken, you're already KYC'd. Why should it even bother you that you have to KYC one more wallet? Like, to me, it doesn't make any difference. What are they going to do to shut this down?
Well, I've got a thesis on this that I'm like thinking about at the moment. If you look at the inflows into Bitcoin geographically, which country has got the most inflows into Bitcoin?
Well, I saw a tweet the other. What?
Yeah.
Just notional.
You saw that animation tweet where the. Did you see that tweet where
The animation
You're
of
saying
the money going.
amount of money going into Bitcoin current, like monthly? What country's the highest?
Yeah.
I saw some tweet that said Nigeria was doing very well, but I don't think that's true. I think it has to maybe be. That's tough. I don't know. I'd say somewhere between the U.S. or China. I don't know.
I think it's the US. Well, what I saw is the US. The amount of money that's going in is significantly the US. Think about my podcast. 50% of my audience is the US, right? And I know it's English speaking, blah, blah, blah. But I think by over-regulating Bitcoin, you actually now are in a position where you harm the United States economy more than you help it. Because the majority of the businesses are there. The majority of the money's going in there. I think the majority of Bitcoin wealth is held in the US. Again, let's look. MassMutual, American company. Sailor, American company. Ruffers, and they're American company, right? All the big money is coming in from American companies. So ultimately, you're just going to damage the US economy by doing that because you're actually taking money out of the US economy.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't see a world where even if the U.S. or any government feels threatened by Bitcoin, I just don't see them, regulating away fine. Like they're already the only way they regulate it away is they, increase tax or increase, make you jump through a bunch of loopholes to own it and reporting and all these things. But those already exist for fine art. Those already exist for those already exist if you're moving large sums of money. And it doesn't change the fact. I kind of look at privacy coins kind of in the same way. Like, I honestly think if they came out with insane restrictions, the price of Bitcoin goes up. It's harder to get, and it's the exact same reason people have been earning outsized returns in crypto assets as a whole, Bitcoin and everything else, is because it's very fucking hard to buy. I mean, it's easier today than it was, obviously, a couple years ago. But the reason that there's so much money to be made here is because the whole world can't buy it in a click. You can't call up with a land. It's why GBTC has a premium. It's why Coinbase is going to have a $20 billion valuation. Uniswap is much lower comparative to their fees. Regardless of what you think of the Uniswap token, the ease of access is, that's a great thing for traders and investors. But at the same time, if something's hard to access, it's going to kind of earn a premium unless you're trying to sell it. And most people are trying to buy this. They aren't trying to sell it. So I just don't view regulation as that big of a threat.
I think the next interesting one is when another big company comes in, because I think MassMutual, Square, MicroStrategy, who was the other one? Ruffers. I think all of those have essentially greenlit owning Bitcoin. I think if Ray Dalio which looks like he's heading that way, if he heads in and makes a buy, I don't think you're far off a Nike or an Apple or somebody going, we are sat on all this money. Why don't we do it? I mean, how hard is it for Apple to put $1 billion in out of the 200 odd billion they're sat on? Yeah, I mean, just it's a nothing move for them where they're almost certainly gonna make of it. And I think when that starts to happen, then it gets a bit interesting. Yeah, really kind of interesting. And I think we're early, by the way, because I also think, MicroStrategy started the trend. Square moved quickly. We've had these other ones that have happened. But for a lot of people, they've got to go through the mental process of saying, can we do this? Like, why are they doing it? Okay, if we do it, how do we do it? What's the process? How many of them at the moment do you think are sat there working out logistically and covering off their legal basis so they can actually do it? And they're like, shit, we need to pull the trigger. We need to do this. And how many of them come January, February, March are also going to be firing 100 million, 200 million, 300,
I just think it's going to be so less, and I agree with you completely. I just think it's going to be so less sexy than a lot of us have it in our heads. The same way that I think, 1 billion people owning Bitcoin will be. most people will never learn Bitcoin, and you can't teach it to them. You can't sell it to them. You can give them the premise. You can give them the pitch. It doesn't matter. Most people won't be interested in the same way that they're not interested in stocks, but almost everyone owns some stocks in their retirement account. The same way that your investment advisor, your financial advisor is going to advise X amount to stocks. If you're very old, he's going to invest, some of your money into cash, into bonds, and then you're going to have an allocation to gold and to Bitcoin. And it's going to be the least sexy transformation of money that's ever happened in the world, and it's going to be transformative for everyone that's been here and is excited about it. But I think companies are going to be the same way. The 100th company that puts $1 billion into Bitcoin, we're not all going to retweet it and go nuts for it. It's just going to be like, no, that fits into their asset allocation. It makes sense. And in the same way, the smartest money managers in the world understand modern portfolio theory. They understand it helps their portfolio. They're going to do it. And it's not going to be because they love Bitcoin. They could fucking hate Bitcoin, but they'll do it because it makes sense for their runway and it makes sense for everything else. So I think it's going to be very less exciting than everyone thinks, but I think it'll happen.
Well, I tell you what's funny. Like I put it out today. So when MicroStrategy did $425 million in, they got 38,000. I think it's 38,250 coins. When it's $1 million, you get 425 coins of that. It's if you do it today, you're already getting. It's less than half. It's like 52% less, and that's going to be hitting people. They're like, I think people are realizing they need to get in. I think it's going to be super interesting. It's the same as ever. It's that question. It's like, shit, when do I sell? What do I sell for? And I kind of also got myself to that place where I'm thinking I probably don't sell much during my life. And actually, this goes on to children, grandchildren, whatever. It's as and when I need. I'd like to at some point get another house. So maybe I'll sell at some point to get a big house. It's because that's the point where I'm like, I can actually get something that's like really life changing and good for me and my family. But otherwise, what do I want to buy it for? Okay. I also, by the way, end of the year, I think we break 30K before the end of the year.
30K, yeah, I could see it. 12 days. I think. I could see it. I don't know. For me, I've realized that price targets just kind of hinder my ability to make money. If I make a price, it's funny. Even like posting an idea on Twitter, I realize it could be the best trade. It could be my favorite trade that week. If I post it on Twitter, I'm probably going to make less money on it. I'm going to have people asking me, when did I sell? When did I buy? Luke, what are you doing? Then all of a sudden, I feel this need to see it through. Like, so I avoid that. Who knows, man? For me, I'm 26. If I'm going to see this through for 10, 20 years, I'm much less worried about it. I think we could, hit 30K, 50K this year. But what you just said is so important. I spoke with Gary Harris. I hope he doesn't mind me name dropping him. He definitely doesn't listen to the show. He plays in the NBA, makes, multi millions every single year. And 2 weeks ago, he calls me up and said, Luke, I'm hearing about this Bitcoin thing. How do I get in? 5, 10 years ago, I was sitting at a lunch table with him. And all the things I explained, I tried to explain it like you, simplest way. And I said, Gary, you have a lot of cash. You're not going to need to sell this. But I think it is something, for your family and for your kids and for your wife. If you want to pass down wealth generationally, this is going to be something that does very well for a long time. And it's one of the first assets that I think survives a long time, does very well. And you could kind of tell that clicked. And I think for a lot of people that do have wealth, they realize that it's not a trade. And it's the same reason Mass Mutual, it's not a trade. It's the same reason Stan Druckenmiller or Guggenheim or Michael Saylor, everyone else, it's not a trade. This is 100 years. This is a couple hundred years.
It's a hodl.
But like more than that for individuals, because they attach hodl to can I make money in 10 years? This is the same way that you view stocks or gold. Like they only go up, and that's a joke. But it's all one trade. And the trade is that countries for the past 100 years have to be printing money to help the economy. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but it does force assets to go up, and especially scarce assets. So it's a fun time to be in. We could riff on this for hours. Bitcoin's going to go up, number go up, fun times. Pete, I got to ask though, you're building this media empire. You're at the top of the totem pole. You're the Joe Rogan of Bitcoin in some ways, and someone that's helped me out a ton in my own podcasts, in my own business ventures, when I'm trying to make some money playing poker. You helped me out a lot of ways. But
I did help you out at the poker table.
I'm fucking with you. But as you look out, man, for people that are listening, I'm sure everyone already listens to your show, but if they're not, you're building some other things. You have a newsletter coming out next year. You're going to have on-chain analytics, you're going to have macroeconomics, you're building this empire. What should people be on the lookout for? And if you can, you don't have to give any exclusives here, but is anyone coming on the show next or soon that's going to blow people's minds? What do you have coming up?
Yeah, I can't announce that one. I know.
Oh, come on, give us something.
No, I can't announce it. I actually can't announce that one because I've had to they basically said I can't announce it. So I know who you're talking about. What have I got coming up? Who have I got? Guess. Literally got my guest list. I mean, I've got like a lot of interesting stuff. I've got my Linord and annual review coming out, my Shinobi tech review. I'm going to do my end of year review with Matt Odell. I've got a bunch of other shows planned for next year. I'll tell you the other interesting stuff. Yeah, so I'm trying to build a media company, of course. I've got the Bitcoin show. Defiance has taken off.
What's up with the newsletter? What is that?
Yeah.
So I'm launching a third podcast about tech, but like freedom, dystopian, future tech. So Bitcoin, surveillance state, the kind of tech that allows people to move and live anywhere they want in the world. So we're going to be launching that in April, and I just wanted a way to like bring it all together. So I thought I'd do a newsletter which covers macroeconomics, Bitcoin, tech, political stuff, and just kind of like put it all together. So that's going to come out in February, which is cool. And then the new podcast starts in April. And yeah, hopefully big year. We did 5 million downloads this year. Hoping next year to double, triple that. Just keep building, dude. Just keep building, man.
Numbers going to go up. Bitcoin's going to go up. Your podcast's going to keep going up. I'm curious. You have one thing I haven't tracked, but I know that you follow it a lot, just based on your tweets. And we joked that because you both work with Sportsbet. Shout out Sportsbet. Yeah. If you watch sports every single weekend, best place to get traction off. I watch UFC fights. We got fights tonight. I'm betting some Bitcoin. But besides all that, you follow Tottenham. Is that your favorite team, or is that a team you hate? And should we make a bet? Should we make a bet based on how many games they win? Should we bet a little bit of Bitcoin, make it fun for everyone to track along?
Do you know what? You want to bet? They're 6 points behind us in the league. They're the biggest challenger to Liverpool.
So is Tottenham your team? For the American listeners that don't know what we're...
Fuck off. You know or not. My team's Liverpool. Piss off. I hate Tottenham. And people they always assume I'm an Arsenal supporter because that's their biggest rivals. But what it is, I went to school. We had this group of mates, like 8 of us. 4 of them support Tottenham. So always in your ear, like Tottenham's year, and they never are. I hate them. I hate Tottenham. So I just rip on them because they're always shit. They're always a letdown. But listen, look, this is their biggest chance yet to win the league. They are 6 points behind us. We're top. I will bet you that they won't beat Liverpool for the title, and I'll give you odds. I'll give you like 2-1.
So your team's. I want to get this straight. I actually don't know. I'm not taking the piss. Your team is Liverpool, and my team would be Tottenham in that sense.
Yeah.
So you're
gonna have a look.
Your bet is that what? Lay it out one more time.
Let's get the odds, all right? Premier League.
And I want to go next season. I'm not talking about this season. I want to track this next year. We're in Bitcoin for the long term. We're in this bet for the long term.
All right.
What does Tottenham and Liverpool need to do? Do they play during the regular season? I want to go to that game if they let fans. Let's have some Bitcoin on the line. Let's go to the game.
Well, I spoke to Sportsbet. They'll get you and me in a Southampton game. Right, here we go. So Liverpool are 10 to 11, so that's pretty much on. Whereas Tottenham are like 9. I can't even work out these odds. You know how to read odds. You go and read the odds. I will beat the odds the bookie gives you. Whatever best odds you find on Tottenham, I'll beat them. Those odds if you want to bet on it.
All right, yeah, we'll place the. I'll take a look at this after, but regardless of what the odds were, I'll just take the bet. Just.
We need to do that thing we spoke about. Like when the planes are flying, I'm going to come out for a week and we're going to do a bunch of shit and bet on it. We're going to do like basketball. We'll throw some hoops. We'll go and play golf. We'll bet on it. But we'll play some pool. We'll bet on everything for a whole week.
Will they let me into Bedford? Can we do that in a pub there, or no?
You guys let Americans in?
They'll let you into Bedford. I think we should do it in the States though. You got better golf courses.
All right, come here. We got a nice golf course here. All right, well. I'm rooting for Tottenham next year. We're both looking for Bitcoin at 100K. I'm excited. I'm excited for what you're dropping. Everyone listening, if you're not already, Pete McCormack running the biggest Bitcoin show in the world. You guys have to be tuning in. Obviously, I'll post that info down below. If you're watching here on YouTube, links down below. If you're listening on iTunes and Spotify, search What Bitcoin Did. It will give you everything you need for everyone holding, looking for that $1 million, $2 million ridiculous price target I just gave. It makes fucking sense. I don't have to justify it. Pete, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. It is an absolute pleasure. I'm not taking the piss at all by saying this. You have been a serious help, both my podcast, my business, and it's always fun on Thursdays. We don't play a lot of poker anymore, but it's fun to trade some Bitcoin every now and then.
Yeah, I've just, the problem is that game starts at 1 in the morning for me, and it ruins my Friday. And I've just I had so much work to do. I'll get back on that table. But look, dude, I love you, man. Like you came on my first show. You committed to it. We did it, and here we are, 3.5 years later. I've got you, brother. Whatever you need, man.
I appreciate it, man. You've built a seriously impressive thing. Everyone, go check out Pete's show. Pete, I appreciate you coming on. Go enjoy some brisket, and we'll talk soon, bud.
Cheers, brother.
Peace, man.